welcome back. Today I'm going to make another rack. This one's going to be for smaller items that don't need such a wide shelf, and because of that, it can be laser cut. And wherever possible, I'm also going to try to use scrap wood or wood that has too many knots for me to want to use it in something that I'm making to be pretty, because this is just going to be, storage basically. Um, So I went ahead and made a new part already, put in some variables. So this is the space that this rack has to fit within. This is in all three directions. And saying that, I should probably keep that to my normal formula of x, y, z Cartesian. And as I said, this is going to be made out of wherever possible bits of scrap wood. So I figure that I think there are 24 pieces I'm going to need, just mental math. I might end up needing more, but I went ahead and put in variables for 24 pieces thickness. Then when once it's designed, I can go and find pieces that are the right size and actually measure them and put those in. And I've got my curve here as well. And this one's going to be all laser cut, like I said. And so let's begin. I'm going to start on, excuse me, start on X0, which if you're looking at it, that would be looking at it from the side. And I'm just going to put in a rectangle to give me an idea of the total size. So this is going to be equal to space y, or the depth. Oh, nope, that's not. It's going to be equal to space z. This is going to be equal to space y. And I did a coincident here, which I want to do a midpoint. All right. And then we need to figure out how this is going to be divided. As before, I want 4 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 sections for material to go, which means 3 shelves total. And I want these to be equal. And I'll go collinear, and then just to keep it from breaking when I rebuild, I'm going to remove 3 of the verticals. I can keep one of them. And I'll go, actually I'm going to go a midpoint on this one, just because this is kind of more for reference and it's easier to see that way. Then I need to make the space between them equal. But the space might not necessarily be equal, because we're going to have different thicknesses of wood. I suppose the difference is going to be so small, I'm not even going to bother worrying about it. So just drawing 3 construction lines here. And I'm going to go equal. And then I have to kind of ask myself, how thick are the shelves going to be? So this is the thickness of the shelf itself. So this is going to be equal to a material thickness, which probably 4.4 thereabouts. Plus, then I have to think. I want a piece turned the other way from the vertical instead of horizontal to give it some structural rigidity in that plane. And thinking just off the top of my head, and I could probably do some math and figure out ideal, but I kind of want to overbuild it because it's scrap wood. Uh, So I'm thinking 30 millimeters should be plenty. So that gives me openings that are about 55 millimeters tall. I think that'll work. So select everything, do a for construction, draw in a new line here, and let's see. I suppose the top can actually be flat with, or the sides can be flat with the rest of the top. I don't see any problem with that. I can always make them taller later. So I'm going to do an extrude boss. And this is going to be equal to part 1 thickness. And I'm going to click OK for now. I've got to go back and add something that I should have added in the first place. So we want origin in here to be midpoint, and make this horizontal. Make this equal to my space X. And then I want basically like 5 millimeters on either side for support structure. So minus 10. And I also want some planes. So I'm just making parallel planes that are coincident with the endpoints here. Edit this feature to go off of this surface and make sure it's going inwards. That's what I want. And then I'm going to reuse the sketch from this surface going inwards. And this is going to be equal to part 2 thickness. I don't want to merge it. And just to keep things sort of organized, and I can hide my planes then. So then I'm going to show this sketch again so that I've got it to work with. And let's just sketch. Actually, I'm going to sketch on the Y plane again. So this is the opening. This is the right. This is the shelf. Okay. So I don't want to go quite from the end because I want to do this with slots. So I want a little bit of space in front and behind of each. So I'll just do a coincident like this. And I'm going to put 5 there. And I'm going to do the same thing in the back. Although actually, I want to kind of do a pattern. But if I do that, then they all have to be the same thickness. So I actually don't want to do a pattern. I'm going to need 5 of these rectangles. Move the horizontals from these 4. So I can go collinear. And I'll just grab these 4 and this and say equal. And this one is going to be 5 from the back. And then I need some widths. So this is equal to part 3, equal to part 4, equal to part 5, 6, and 7. So that gives me end supports plus 3 in the middle, which the things going on this shelf aren't going to be super heavy, so that should be acceptable. I only want a midpoint constraint on one of these, and then I'm going to make that horizontal. I'm going to select the couple more, make them collinear, equal for construction, and go back, grab this last one for construction, collinear, equal, and then I've got my spacing there. And I need to repeat that process basically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I move the horizontal from actually all of these tops. And I just realized I made another mistake back there. Oh no, no, I didn't. That works. Never mind. So these are all collinear, and these are all collinear too. And then we got a bunch of equals. Equals. And do a coincident on the end. And another. And then on the other side as well. All right. Now this was 7. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. All right. Then I need to do the same thing here. So midpoint, but only on the first one. And then just draw coincident lines. And one more. So these are both horizontal. And it's going to be collinear equal for construction. I'll drag them in. I only want to do the first 3 because otherwise this last one has a tendency to flip around and get messed up. So this is going to be collinear and equal. This is going to be collinear and equal and for construction. And it's going to be this as well, collinear equal for construction. And one more. So I've got my placings of, these are not actually the holes, these are the actual bars. So I am going to go offset from this surface by 5. So that's how it was designed earlier with the -10 for locating these. And reverse that offset so it goes past them. And I don't want to merge this. But I also want to go direction 2. And it's going to be offset from this surface, also by 5. And we'll reverse it so it goes out. And okay. So this can be hidden for now anyway. So this is part 1, part 2, and go ahead and name these right away, otherwise it gets real confusing at a later time. But, oh, yeah, because I thought they might be all in order, but it seemed unlikely, and they're not. Mostly all in order, but not all of them. And last one. Come on, rename it. Sometimes SolidWorks just ignores when you try to rename something. So let's save this. All right, looking good so far. And then need to do, so this is going to be slots. So these are going to slot into this. And in order to do that, I kind of need to make tabs or ears or something to that effect, depending on how you want to say it. Oh, I'm going to sketch in this plane. And I want a rectangle and another rectangle, which is going to be on the other side. These are going to be collinear or coincident. And I'm just going to put a point here. Say it's midpoint here. And then I need to show these two parts again. So that way I can just copy the width. And here as well. All right, I can hide these again. And I want to do the same thing here and here and here and here. So let's get rid of some vertical constraints. And then I can go collinear and equal. Oh. And get rid of these vertical constraints. Do the same thing. And make these all equal. Do the same thing over here. Oh, equal. I didn't get much sleep last night. All right. So got that all set up. And saying that, I realize did something kind of silly. So yeah, all these are going to have, excuse me, all of these are going to have boards on them, which means that this actual ear, or whatever you want to call it, uh, there's going to be like a cut right here for where the board is, which means this will have less material than I'd like. So I'm actually going to delete this point. I'm going to make this like a fixed cutout, because even that 17 is way more than I need. I think 10 is going to be plenty. All right. And I'm going to extrude cut through all. I'm just going to let it do auto select. And then I'm going to edit the feature just to, so that, see, it skipped parts 1 and 2 because they're hidden. But I like to always edit the feature again and click OK, because sometimes when it regens, if you don't do that first before it regens, it, for whatever reason, if these are showing at the time you regen, it's like, oh, well, I'll do those two. And I have no idea why it feels like it shouldn't, but it does. All right, so let's show everything again. And we're going to have some flat boards up here. And here. And here. It's going to be coincident. And coincident. And coincident. Same thing over here. All right. And so we're on part 17 equals part 18 equals part 19 and equals part 20. So this is going to extrude up to here and all the way back as well. Oh, and I don't want to merge this. Part 18, part 19, part 20. All right. So how do these stay on, especially when they're interfering? Well, we need kind of a tooth system again. So I'm going to draw on this plane. And I'm just basically going to draw like what will be cut out of this and what will be not cut out of this. Or, yeah, I think that'll work better. All right. So, got a rectangle there. Go ahead and put one up here and down at the bottom as well. And do a coincident. And then do a coincident again. And these are going to be equal. And I don't need it to look all perfectly square and super pretty. So I'm going to make wider tabs that are a little bit easier to work with. And they don't need to be parametric because they don't need to be square and pretty. So we can just, for starters, I'll just put a width of 20 and we can adjust from there. Just holding the control and doing select chain, do a linear pattern. Spacing is 20 times 2, so 40. And just type in numbers till it looks about sort of kind of right. And then I can delete this. So then I need another line here to there. And from here to there. It's going to be for construction. And they're going to be equal to that. All right. So at that point, these are the cuts that are in this actual board. So what I can do is I'm going to do a extruded cut starting from this surface. And okay. Yeah, since the way that this is, I'm going to have to do it a little bit differently. Yeah, because I just realized if I do cuts in this, these are all going to be able to change in width. So that's not gonna fly. What I need to do is do the cuts in these pieces first, because that'll make things a lot easier for me. No big deal. I'm gonna sketch on there. I'm gonna convert this. I'm gonna hide this. I'm gonna select all of these and make for construction. Then I don't know, make a rectangle here, drag it the other way, say that it is equal. Select this chain, and I'm going to do a linear pattern. And since we already know this, we can just type this in. And I already forgot how many. It's 9. All right. Believe that's right, just about. And if I can, I'll do a coincident here. All right, so that's kind of the inverse of what I had before. I'm going to right click on one of these, click Edit Linear Pattern. So I want 3 going downwards. And I'll do a coincident here to make them all vertical with each other. Do a coincident there, lock that one in place. And then the third one follows suit. And then I'm going to do extrude cut through all. And I'm actually going to just, if I do it like that, it's going to freak out. I've got to hide these, or I'm going to hide everything that I don't want to cut. Because there's a lot to select, so I might as well take advantage of the tools. And just go back in there to confirm. All right. And let's see. I want to do a move copy bodies. And I'm just going to grab all of them. Say OK. And I'm going to hide these originals because they're already labeled and everything. And let's see. I'll just show the top one at first. Don't subtract all of these. And hopefully I don't just lose my name. I did just lose my name. All right, I'm going to undo this combine. So if I lose the name, I can't get it back, which is annoying. It's annoying that I lose the name in the first place, but I can rename them beforehand and then rename them again afterwards. And do the same thing here. And one more time. And we'll show everything. All right, so now these pieces are all locked in place by these pieces, so they can't move forward or backwards. They're locked in place by these, so they can't move sideways at all. And then they're pretty much held in place with gravity and maybe the frictions of the sides, and maybe a spot or two of glue just to be extra certain. Yeah, because if I make tabs up here, obviously I'd have to make it a little bit taller to accommodate that, which wouldn't be the end of the world. But, and I'm not sure how I'd put them together. Let's see, I could put all these onto there, and then slide them all in together as one. But that wouldn't work if I had tabs. So yeah, it's basically just going to be put it together with gravity and a little bit of friction and a couple drops of glue. That'll work. All right. So then we need. Right now, these tabs are just going through a solid, which is not going to work, obviously. So I need to address that. And how I address that is I'm going to need a whole bunch of rectangles. 15 rectangles in total, actually. So I'm just going to draw them right near where they're going to be going anyway. These are all potentially different thicknesses, so I can't really do a pattern here. So I'm going to do a coincident. All right, time to make a whole bunch of coincidences. And because all these are potentially different thicknesses, that eliminates using a pattern, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to make start by making 30 coincidences. And actually, I'm gonna hide this, make it a little bit easier on myself. Hide these as well. Because the lower ones, actually all of them are going to be coincident at the bottom like this. And I'll just work my way around, grabbing whatever happens to be on the screen. Until everything turns black. Well, most everything. I'll have to do some dimensions still after I get done with all this. But we'll start with this anyway. And rotate around so we can start grabbing some other things. Want these to be at the bottom. So these will be the cuts in the side that that the supports slot into. So we want them to be coincident with the bottom there. And just do a few more. Lots of these. Oh, coincident. Alright, so all the vertical lines are black at least. Well, all but one. Alright, what's up with that? Oh. Alright. Now, for the bottom two rows, I want them all to be the same height. So I'll select just one of the vertical lines from each of them. And I'll make those all equal. The top ones are already all defined because they're just going to cut right to the very top of this panel. So for these, I want to be offset by that, and if I change that later, I want these to adjust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in this line, and I want it to be a little bit longer than that, so draw in a second line, and I'll put a dimension here of, I only need like an extra half a millimeter, but just enough to let him slide in a little bit easier for me. So then I can draw this line down to there, and I can drag this up a little bit, give myself some room, Draw this line down. Say that it's coincident with this. Say that it is parallel, equal, and for construction. And I'm fully defined. So hide everything so I can show everything. Do an extruded cut through all. And I just want the end pieces. All right, so now I've got these that I can put together. Basically, I'm figuring put each shelf with its supports together and then slot them in, or I could go the other way and slot them in and then put the shelves on top, whichever seems most convenient at the time. Probably assembling and then sliding them together, but I'll see when I actually putting it together. Right. I'm looking to see if there's anything else this actually needs, because it's actually looking pretty close to done, even though it's a very basic design, really. We've got locks and locks. We've got locks and locks. Um, you know, there's one other thing that I would like to add, though. Right now, this is my only vertical support, and uh, plywood is strong in one direction, or strong in some ways, but it's weak in others. So it's not gonna bend in this direction, if you know what I mean. Um, so if I grabbed it here and here in a vise and here in a vise and twisted this way, it wouldn't bend. But this way, the thin way, it's very flexible. And I don't really need to worry about it flexing um, like this, because this is here. But I do need to worry about it flexing like this, because there's spaces that have nothing in them. It does help to have these all in there, but it's not gonna give me as much rigidity as I would like. So what I am going to do about that is, first, need a new variable. So let's see. We've got, let's cancel this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. I think 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. All right, so that's 8. And since these are going to be relatively small, these can all be the same thickness, I think. Uh, may regret that. Yeah, I would regret that, I think. I'm trying to make this out of as much scrap as possible, and if I'm forcing myself to use a bigger piece, then I'm using less of the tiny little scraps that I'm trying to get rid of. So, I'm going to delete that. Delete this copy. Set it to 25 and 26. And go down. 27. Go down. Working at the bottom of the list is sometimes a pain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Just copy and paste this for now. All right. So I've got some new variables to work with. And what I'm going to do here, just start with a rectangle, or 4 rectangles actually. And just going to draw on some construction lines. This one actually shouldn't have been to the end. Alright, so I wanted this coincident with that. I want this with that. I want this with that. Just want to locate these rectangles equally between the slots. And one more. So then these will be equal. And these. And these. And these. And I think some of these I didn't make for construction. So I will go back and double check all of them. All right. And let's see. Where's part one? Oh, that's part one. Yeah. Where's part three? All right, so this is the front. Not that it really makes a difference, but try to keep things consistent as if possible. And what was it? 25, I think. Double check. Yeah, 25. So this equals part 26. And 27. And 28. All right. And then I'm going to go over here and do basically the same thing over again. And the reason I can't just reuse that old sketch is that these panels might be slightly different in thickness. Oh, come on. Coincident. All right. So let's make some construction lines. Actually, might be able to do this a little bit easier if I just go like this. It's less constraints I have to make manually later. All right. So horizontal for construction equal. Horizontal equal for construction. Horizontal equal for construction. And horizontal equal for construction. And let's see, 25 to 6 to 7, 28. So this will be 29. And 30. And 31. Oh, no, that's 32. Whoops. All right. Got those rectangles made. Gonna roll back to before I made that second sketch, and I'm gonna do an extrude boss. And in one direction, it's just gonna go out 5. So it's not gonna be adding a whole lot of rigidity, but it'll be enough to help. And in the other direction, I'm just going to go up to this surface. And I do not want to merge this. And let's see. This is part 25. This is part 26. Part 27. And part 28. And if I can spell, All right, let's go to the other side with this other sketch made. Do the same thing. I want it to be 5. In direction 2, I want it to be up to the surface. And I don't want to merge it. So then this is part 29. Part 30. Part 31. Oh. Excuse me. Part 32. All right. So how do those attach? Well, I'm going to need some teeth again. And I need to think about how I ideally would like to actually make those teeth. So I'm going to go here. And I think I don't want teeth at top. Or I want this to be void at top and then a tooth below. And I'm going to do this as a cut. So start with it like that. And just set this 20 for now. Let's right click, select chain, do a linear pattern. So we're going to need one for the other side, but it's going to be a different thickness, so we actually don't. And 40 going downwards. Let's see, let's maybe try 6 or 7. 7 works. So go there and coincident there. And then I just need one little construction line so I can use an equal constraint. That's all locked down. And I'm going to do basically the same thing over here. This time I can go ahead and lock this right away. Do a linear pattern going down of 7. And I can just lock the second one to the second one. And then it's fully defined. And then I need to do an extruded cut, which is going to be a through-all cut. And it's only going to be applying to these. And okay. Alright, so now those have teeth, but they don't have holes to go for the teeth to go into. And let's see, need to rename these sides. And I need to do a move copy bodies. I'm actually going to go to the constraint side to select them so I don't get that coordinate thing in the way. And then I can flip back to translate rotate. I just want one copy of each. So I can hide these and hide all of this as well. So this is part 1. Do a subtract and rename it to part 1. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Part 2. Alright, so if I cut these right, I'll basically, it'll almost be a press fit as it is, but then I'll just put like a line of glue along each side of each one of these, and once that dries, it'll give me a pretty good rigidity, at least for the relatively small weight I've got. That combined with the 3 shelves. 2 shelves would be a lot less rigidity, but 3 of them together plus the sides, I think is going to be more than enough. Now, what else do I realistically need? I think it's pretty much set. I would like, however, to just out of vanity, if you will, I'm gonna just put a fillet up here, and the reason I'm not using a fillet tool is that you can only do it on one body at a time. And this cut I can apply to all the bodies at once, and I want it to be 5, so it'll be right on there. Actually, I don't even need a dimension. I can just go like this. And I'll do the same thing over here. Go tangent, and tangent again, and then coincident. And I'll do an extrude cut through all. It's going to apply to a bunch of parts. So it'll be this, 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 this. And again, this is not really super necessary. Mainly it's for looks. I suppose it might have a knock-on effect of maybe possibly helping avoiding getting a scratch on something that's kind of hanging over the edge. So I'm going to try not to have things hanging over the edge in the first place. So I'm going to hit save. And then I want to go to evaluate and interference detection and just hit calculate and see if there's anything that I forgot. Because right now there should be no interferences if I did everything right. And oh, sometimes it looks like it's done, but it's not. So just keep on waiting on it. All right, I have no interferences. Wonderful. All right, from there, let's see. We still need a flat layout, still need a kerf, but other than that, this thing is done. So I'm going to throw all this in a folder called model, and hide everything except for this part. And I'm going to do an offset and extrude up to the other side. And I'm going to do the same thing for this, and for this, and for this, and for this, and for this, so on and so forth for all of them. So I don't want to show all that, but because it'll be boring, I'll just do the first one of each, and then I'll pause the video recording and come back once they're all done. So I'm going to offset by just tell it 0.1. I can't put I can drive this with an equation, but I can't put the equation in yet. So then I can double click that, and now I can use an equation. And it's going to be kerf divided by 2. And I'm going to extrude boss up to there. And merge. So yeah, we got a bunch of those, and I'll come back to them. This one, similar, but an extra step. So at this time, I've got to click Convert Entities. I've got to click this before selecting anything. Then I click the face. Then I click Select All Inner Loops, and click Check. Do a drag around everything, and I want to say for construction. And then I want, with it all selected, I want to click Offset and Reverse. And then on the outside, I'm just going to select Offset and not Reversed. So now it's offsetting the holes inward and the outside outward. By 2. By 2. And we're going to go up to surface. There. All right. Got a bunch of crossbars here. Got shelves. And we got a side panel, so I'll do the side panel as well. Just one of everything basically, and then I'll come back once it's all done. So I'm going to do, again, a convert and select all the inside ones. Then drag around them. Say that they're for construction. I'm going to offset them, reversed. Then I'm going to offset the outside, not reversed. I'm going to say this is equal to kerf divided by 2. And this is also equal to kerf divided by 2. And I'll extrude boss up to the other side of this panel and say I only want to merge with this panel. And OK. All right. So now I need to do that with a whole bunch of other ones. So I'll pause recording and come back once it's done. Okay, so I have all those applied. There's a whole bunch of things, or a whole bunch of pieces. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So first thing I'm going to do is this is the most long ago modified part, and this is the most recently modified part. And this is my first kerf. So if I hide that, I know that everything in here has been had kerf applied. Other thing is that when I'm doing these, I have to start with the default kerf, like the 0.1 or whatever, and then adjust it. So sometimes I forget to adjust that. So I'm going from sketch 14 up to sketch 35. So if I go into my equations and sketch 14, I believe it was, yes. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, I missed 24, it looks like. Let's see. Let's edit this. Yep, I missed that one. And that's why we check. So 23, 24 at the bottom, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. And my bottom sketch is 35. So they are now all have their kerf offsets. So I'm going to put all those in a folder. And then when I was doing that kerf offset, I realized I had forgotten to do one thing. And I think I can get away with doing it by rolling back to before the kerf. We'll find out in a second though. So I'm going to roll back to before the kerf. And I'm going to do a sketch on this one. And all I want is just a little bit of a chamfer here to make it a lot easier to install. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Well, I think I can do pattern for these. It's only 3 instances. It's not a big deal. I say that as I make it a big deal by doing it wrong. And down here as well. And I can't mirror across because the other side's thickness is going to be slightly different. That's okay, just draw in some more. Don't let me, all right. And just these two. So select those, and select those, and select those. I'll just go equal for all the ones on this side. I'll do an equal constraint across the sides, just the one. Do equal for all these. And I'm actually just going to grab one of each from each level and say equal. And SolidWorks is starting to slow down on me a little bit, but that's all right. Say equal. And just to mention this, the other way, and 0.75, that's plenty. This is fully defined down here. So I'm going to do an extrude cut through all, and I want to apply to those, and those, and those, and I'm missing one, but okay. So edit that so that it also applies to that. All right. So those are all chamfered, and I'll just drop that at the end of the model folder. And I'll roll it forward to the kerf and cross my fingers because I did all these as face offsets, and all right, that worked. I figured it should, but you never know. All right, so it's curved. It should be relatively sort of kind of easy to assemble. Saying that, actually, I do wonder about these as well. Is there going to need to push into a panel? Yeah. So those are going to need to be done too. Great. These ones won't take quite as much work though. So let's draw in the bottom one on each side. Come on. There we go. So those are all going to be equal. And those are equal. And oh, I don't want to select the face, I want to select the lines. So those are all equal as well. And 0.75, see if that looks right. All right, I think that'll work. Select the whole lot of them. Do a linear pattern. I want to be going the other way. I think there were 7 of those. We can adjust as needed if needed. So do a coincident there. Let's drag the 7 off to the side. All right, so maybe it was 6. Oh, it was 7 cuts, so then, yeah, 6 teeth. All right, that works. Let's do an extruded cut through all and applying to these. Okay. So, looks like we got everything. So I can show everything again. And drop that in there as well. Roll it forward. Hope nothing breaks. Nothing broke. Gonna hit save. So at this point, I think it's actually all set. And the only thing that still needs doing is that I need to flatten it. And that's going to be a few steps, to say the least. Oh, you know what? I do need to do one other thing. And that is that since all these are different, it's going to be super easy for me to confuse everything. So I'm going to look at this from the back side, because I'm going to be engraving everything from the back side. That way it's easier to see the knots and work around them. And also because that way I can engrave the numbers for the parts onto the back side, and then when I'm looking at the front, I don't see the numbers. So I'm drawing line, a line, and a line. It's going to be hiding this and hiding this. And I'll hide this as well. No, I don't want to hide that. I want to constrain to it. And constrain, and constrain, and constrain. So basically just want lines that go across so that I can do a midpoint constraint to them. And let's see, how far apart are these? So those are, well, before the kerf, they're 30 millimeters apart. So I'm going to select these, make for construction. And I'm going to draw in some center rectangles. And just make them all the same. So constrain to that. And I'll constrain to that. And I'll make them all equal. And they're all going to be 20 millimeters. That gives me 5 above and 5 below. And might as well just coincident at the end to make them fully defined. Select everything again. And grab these bottom lines and say they're not for construction. And then I need to go into the system options, document properties, annotations, and set my default font to be 20. And yeah, it doesn't really matter what it is because it's not really going to be seen. At least not once it's assembled. And I'm gonna hide this sketch. I'm gonna sketch on here. And I'm gonna convert this. Oh, actually, I just realized one other thing I should have done way back here. So this cut, I wanted to make this through all both, just in case one of these is thicker than that. Just as a safety measure, because right now they're all the same because the variables are all the same, but if they're changed in some ways, that might cause a problem. I just thought of that. So just that real quick. All right, so making this sketch, I did a convert. I'm gonna say for construction, and hide this. All right, so every time I click that, it expands and it gets in my way. So I'm just gonna throw it into another folder. That way, when I click on this, that doesn't expand on me. Still doesn't tell me which part it is, of course. That would be too easy. So this is part 7. Center, the other side, the other way. And this is part 12. And this is part 17. And let's see. I'm going to do a relatively deep cut for an engrave. I mean, it's not actually going to be that deep when I make it, but because these can vary in thickness by quite a bit, I am going to go 2 millimeters, and I'm going to call it a mid-plane, and select those. So those have numbers. And I can go on here, and I'm going to convert this sketch again, and make it for construction, and then figure out which. Let's see, this is 11, so might as well start with that one. And this is 6. And what's the bottom one? That is 16. Do the same thing again. And then I can hide those. Just going to repeat through the whole stack. All right. And this is 10. And that's 5. And that's 15. Strip cut, mid-plane, applying only to those. And we'll hide these. By the way, the reason I'm doing this after the kerf is that it just makes it easier to do the kerf if there's nothing inside, because if you just offset the outside and do extrude, it buries everything that's in the middle, which is not a big deal if there's nothing in the middle. But if there is something in the middle, then you have to do a convert first, and that basically doubles the number of lines you're dealing with, and doubling the lines seems to make it take 4 times as long, or thereabouts. I haven't actually tested the exact time, but it's definitely more than twice as long for twice as many lines. All right, where is it? Did I miss it? Oh, there it is. All right. And just keep repeating the same thing on all these. And hide those now. And the last set. So this is 3, I believe. Maybe. Yep. And let's see. That's 8. And that's 13. All right. So those are dealt with. And these are so thin, it's going to be tricky to do them. See, this is part 1. So what I'm thinking, rather than putting actual numbers and stuff on them, just because these are so small or so thin, is that I'll start with making it a, actually I'm going to make a center rectangle. And I'll constrain that there, constrain this here, and I'll constrain the end. Oh no, I'll constrain this to that. And constrain the end here. So for construction, and I'm just going to draw in a circle. And that's just going to be like 3 across. And I'll do cut on that one. And then I could just reuse the sketch. These are all going to be the same as far as from the side. But they are going to be different. Yeah, that's actually not going to work. All right. How to deal with this then? Yes. So this is what, part 25. Could do binary, or I could make just like a 3-point tall font. Probably or a 4-point, something like that. Yeah, that's probably my best bet. And I'll just go up to there, I guess. Um, yeah, that'll work, I think. And make this all for construction, except for this first line. All right. And I actually want to go from the back, I believe, because, let's see, part 3 is up at the front. So, yeah, I want to work from the back. So, get on here, convert this. This is part 28. Okay. So, 28. And it's going to be a font of 4. And flip and flip. And okay. And do an extrude cut. That. And convert for construction 27. And it's going to be 4 tall. And extrude cut. And keep doing the same, just work down the line. Okay, this has got to be for construction. Okay, and one more. So, all right, that's that side dealt with. Do basically the same thing over here. Yeah. Make it 4 tall again. And I want to select everything so it's all for construction. And then just select the one line that everything is going to be riding on. Make that not for construction. So I'm going to hide this old sketch. And I can hide this sketch actually as well, because I'm just going to be converting it. And what was this, 32? Yeah. And we'll just repeat that basically. This one's going to be 31. Just work down the line. So this one should be 30. And finally we have 29 here. Okay, so those are all numbered. And so if I go back to here, let me show all these and then hide all of them and show them all. If I hide the first one, that means all these have numbers as well. So I just have these parts remaining. And yeah, it froze for a second there, but it's all right. So part 3, somewhere. So that's the front. This is the back. Figure might as well. Let's see. Yeah, probably better to put the number at the back so it'd be a little bit less visible on these. And coincident. Let's hide this. Hide this. Coincident. And coincident. Then I want another center point rectangle. It's going to be 20 tall. It's for construction. And then I just want this line here. So I want to convert this sketch, and I want to hide it as well. This is part number 18. All right. For construction, to extrude cut. Yep. And then I'll repeat on this one. Convert. Make it for construction. And this is going to be 19. And just double check that that's 19. Yep. And then this would be 20 at the bottom, right? And one more of these to do. All right, so those are all numbered now. So if I hide everything, show everything, select the first one of these and say hide that, and hide everything that's below that. All I have left is these two side pieces to number. And I'm going to save. So this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. So that's number 3, then 4, 5, and so on. So let's sketch here. And I think my best bet would be to take one of these, just one of those, thanks to a coincident, and do maybe a 5 from the top, and we'll make it just say 15 wide. Let's see how that turns out. Not so great. Let's see. How long is this? This is 24. And our font is 20 tall. So yeah, just set the height to 20. All right. And say if it's 30 wide, 40 wide, 35. Just keep experimenting until it looks about right. Call it 40. All right. So that's how I've got to do all of these. So again, I am going to pause the video and come back when this step is completed. All right, so that process is finally done. So we've got numbers matching up right there all the way across. And I know the number side of this is going to be the back. And we've got the kerf, we've got the assembly chamfers. And while I was not recording, I went ahead and did the flat as well because that's kind of time consuming and boring as well. So I've got the flat. And none of these pieces entirely use my bed, but a lot of them, like, I can't make. Well, these are bigger than these, obviously. And I don't have room to do both of these together. Not quite. These are 268. So in theory, I could go up to about 480, maybe even 490 on my bed. So obviously, I can't fit a pair of 268s plus a gap between them. So we've got. I'm gonna have to do is 5 cuts plus 6 cuts, but with all this, it would be 6 cuts if I was using just full sheets. But as I said, I'm going to be trying to use scraps, and I'll when I buy like a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of plywood, a lot of times there'll be some good sections, there'll be some bad sections, and I use the good sections for things I want to look pretty, and then the bad sections just kind of stack up. So I'm hoping that I've got enough just bad sections to just do this whole thing out of wood that I wouldn't normally be using anyway, which reduces its effective cost significantly because it's basically almost scrap wood to begin with. Yeah, so that's the whole design done. As always, if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I'll try to respond. Otherwise, see you on the next video.